Welcome to the Wolverine Confidential Podcast. I'm Andrew Kahn.
And I'm Ryan Zook.
A Wolverine was taken in the Major League Baseball draft. We discuss why he has the tools to become a big leaguer. Dusty May opened the Chrysler doors for interviews and a practice. Who and what stood out about the Michigan men's basketball team? That and more coming up on Wolverine Confidential. All right, Ryan, good to be with you here. Tuesday afternoon, July 15th, just the two of us. Aaron is off this week. And we've got a couple, news items to talk about, as I mentioned in the intro there. And the first is Mitch Voit getting drafted by the two-time World Series champion New York Metropolitans with the number 38 pick in the first round. There are 43 first-round picks this year. Again, more than there are teams in Major League Baseball. That's because of various compensation picks, when you lose a free agent, or in the case of the Mets and this pick, kind of getting downgraded because they spent so much. So it's sort of between rounds, but it's still considered the first round. Yeah, I mean, he was a first round pick.
Yeah, first round pick. Yeah.
And we knew this was a possibility. Going in, you wrote about him with that headline, but still a big deal for Voit and the Michigan baseball program. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. The highest draft pick since 2000 for the David Parrish in 2000. So it's been a while. They've had a lot of second and third rounders in the last 5-6 years, ever since their 2019 run to the College World Series, but never a guy that went in the top 50. And what I was thinking, just based off his projections or his rankings, he was but in the 58 to 68 range, and by a lot of the pre-draft rankings. But again, in baseball, it's a little bit different. You want value, or you want to save money on a pick and maybe draft someone that isn't ranked as high. So it's always tough. And I spoke with him and head coach Tracy Smith, whose son is actually Mitch Voit's agent too, which is kind of a neat little story. To try and do you know where you might be going? He's like, I'm basically locked to go day one, but again, that's up to 105 picks. So it's so listening to his post-draft availability, he's like, I was told 30 to 50 range, and he goes 38 and first round pick. So pretty cool moment.
Voit, had some really big numbers for Michigan as a hitter this past season. I guess in general, why was he a first round pick? What did the Mets like about him?
Yeah, I mean, he came in as a pretty highly touted recruit in Tracy Smith's first year after Eric Bakich left, and he was one of the few guys that actually stuck with his Michigan commitment and signed with them. And I mean, he had a strong freshman season as a pitcher and as a hitter, infielder, and really took off as a sophomore at the plate, but was striking out too much. And Coach Tracy Smith was like, "Hey, he's got a lot of tools, but he was the bat to ball skills and not getting the ball in play is, I mean, Stouts don't love that." So he was saying that probably if he was draft eligible after a sophomore year, probably around the fifth, sixth round, or fifth, sixth, seventh round range. But he really improved his approach at the plate as a junior, cut his strikeouts down from 61 to 34, and continued to hit the crap out of the ball. I mean, led the team with 14 home runs and 60 RBIs in 56 games, hit 346. His eye got better, a lot more walks, 471 on base percentage. He started to steal some bases as a junior too. And he did give up pitching. So he didn't pitch this past year, but always seemed to come through in the clutch, had a lot of clutch at bats for Michigan. Was an All-American this past year. And it's tough to be a high draft pick in the Big Ten. You see so many SEC, ACC players drafted early from the college ranks, and it's rare for a Big Ten player to go that high. But I mean, he's got all the tools, and yeah, the Mets liked what they saw and liked his projectability and grabbed him pretty early.
Now, I see him listed when you see some draft, just recaps or whatever, as a two-way player. They list, second base or whatever other position and pitcher. Is he going to be a Shohei Ohtani type for my New York Mets? Or like you said, he pitched freshman year, closer, then moved into the starting rotation the next year, but then had the arm surgery and didn't pitch last year. is he now done pitching, or is it just because of the surgery, and when he recovers he might get back to that?
So it sounded like going into the draft, like when I talked to him, and he was just going to focus on second base. He wanted to be a second baseman, and yeah, they announced him as a two-way player, and then his post draft availability. He's like, you know what? Never say never to anything. Like we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to like completely close the door. But it sounds like it's his primary focus is going to be at second base, and I mean he's played a bunch of positions in the infield too, so maybe that he can slot in somewhere else. But I think it's just going to be a position player focus at this point. Um, uh, but yeah, you never know. But that would be my guess.
All right. Well, excited to see his climb through the ranks of the Mets system. Did you see the one high school had three first round picks in this draft? It was insane. Uh,
Oh no, I didn't see that in California
Yeah,
somewhere or
yeah,
Florida.
yeah,
Yeah, California.
California, Corona High School, California. Yeah, first ever with three three players picked. It was even in the top 50 or something like that. There's only, I think there was one time there was, or two times, maybe three were in the top 100 even. But this, first round, just yeah, pretty insane. Needless to say, they were pretty good, but they didn't win. I don't think they won their actual state championship. They made it to the finals, but yeah, and then kind of segueing and also talking about him being a Mitch Voit being a first round pick. It completed this unbelievable feat for Michigan as a school to have a first round pick uh, in each of the drafts of the four major sports in one year, which is the first time that's ever happened for a school. At least according to Greg Harvey of Stats Perform, which who I did reach out to him, and he kind of told me a little bit about, yes, his company's data, and the AI tool they can use to kind of search through this stuff and then cross reference it with other drafts. I mean, as you listeners can imagine, this would be something that would really just be impossible given time constraints to ever try to verify. But I have no reason to doubt that it's not accurate. So yeah, Michigan, of course, in April in the NFL draft, they had three first round picks with Mason Graham, Colston Loveland, and Kenneth Grant, and then last month Danny Wolf in the NBA draft late in the first round, and then 2 days later Will Horkoff taken in the NHL draft, and now Voit completes this incredible feat for Michigan by becoming a first round pick.
I wonder how many schools they'll have Division I programs in all four sports too, because I know in hockey there's a lot of.
Very
I
true.
mean, yeah. So there's probably not many that even have the possibility of producing like an NHL first round draft pick. I mean, yeah, all the Big Ten schools, yes, but I mean, yeah, there's no like Georgias and Alabamas at all with hockey programs. So yeah, it's still pretty remarkable that they were able to do that. But
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about basketball here because Dusty May opened the Chrysler doors for a press conference that he did, and an hour of practice, and it was a real practice. This wasn't just like, yeah, we're going to do some stretching and maybe some shooting. This was their practice for the day, and there was real coaching and a lot of 5-on-5 action going on, which is what they like to do in practices under Dusty May. And then yeah, talk to the key newcomers, all four transfers, and two of the freshmen that will likely see the floor, which was a nice treat and a little something kind of midway through their summer workouts to get a first look at the team.
yeah, and I was reading your post on MLive.com about like just your takeaways and stuff, and it seemed like yeah, you were able to glean a lot from just one practice. I guess what stood out to you from what you were able to see?
Yeah, the number one thing would be the depth of this team. I mean, you look around and there's a lot of good players. Like if you think, a rotation is typically going to be 7 or 8 guys, maybe 9 for, if you want to give a guy a few minutes in a game, like there's more than that available to you that are quality college players, I would think. So it's a question of how Dusty wants to play. He wants to play fast, and typically that would mean shorter stints, less minutes for guys in particular games, but still to see them go 10 or 11 deep, I don't know about that. But I guess my point is that they could. I will say that there were players that were not full participants. Oscar Goodman, who tweaked his ankle in his final game in Switzerland in that FIBA event we've talked about on this podcast. He was out there, he was running, he was doing some 3-on-3 stuff. He just didn't do the 5-on-5 stuff when that was happening. He was running on a bike, but this isn't some serious injury that's going to affect him this season. And then Malik Cordell, the incoming freshman 7-footer from Germany, just hadn't arrived yet. He and Adai Mara were still working on their visa stuff. Mara is there, had been there for a week when we saw him, but Cordell not there yet. But yeah, a lot of good options, for Dusty May, on this team, and especially in the front court. I mentioned Mara. He's all of 7'3". I mean, you couldn't help but kind of like smile when you saw him, Dusty talking to him, just right next to him, just the size difference there. But even with really all his teammates, he is the tallest player in Michigan basketball history. They've never had a guy taller than 7'2", and he's listed at 7'3". And then, from UCLA, he showed off nice passing skills as well, in addition to just his touch around the basket. Yaxel Lendeborg, the transfer from UAB, looks like the real deal, as far as his athleticism and, again, his passing. Morez Johnson Jr., the forward from Illinois, looked really good as well, as a rebounder and just an energy guy. Like, I wrote this morning on MLive.com/Wolverines, like, could Michigan have the best front court in the country? And, with those guys and Will Cheddar, as a 3-point shooter and proven college player, and potentially Goodman and others contributing there. Yeah, I mean, I think the the reason I wrote that is because I think the answer could be yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is probably not a bad problem to have, but it might be tough for some freshmen to crack the lineup this year, or at least get regular minutes with how deep they are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, there's going to be good players that just aren't playing. So yeah, as far as the freshmen that are coming in, again, there's four. Like I said, Cordell's not here yet, and Patrick Liebert, he's more of a developmental guy. Like, in the 5-on-5 action, he was not out there, only because obviously only 10 guys can be, and he was one of the odd guys out. But the other two, Trey McKinney, who I think a lot of people know, he's from here in Michigan, 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American, all that stuff. Definitely could, as could Winters Grady, who played for Prolific Prep out in California, just a team loaded with 5-star talent. They both look good as, 3-point shooters, and, kind of holding their own defensively and stuff like that. And this isn't just like my eyes. This is, Dusty saying this, and their teammates as well, that they just don't seem like normal freshmen as far as their maturity, their work ethic, and especially in the case of McKinney, just like um, his body size. Like, he's physically built, more like an upperclassman than your typical freshman. So I think, I think that those are guys that can, step in and potentially crack the rotation early on.
What sense do you have that that might be like Michigan's top priority this offseason to maybe shore up before I know it's quite a few, the season opener is quite a ways out, but what do you think the priority is to shore up and improve on before, they get going this year? I mean, obviously turnovers were a little bit of an issue in last season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say that and the outside shooting. So we could start with the turnovers. Yes, Michigan was one of the worst teams in the country, the worst team in the Big Ten when it came to turning the ball over last year. Dusty actually shed some more light on that issue on Sunday, saying, like, he gave some staffers like a project of really diving deep into it and trying to figure out stuff. And he was candid in that they didn't really find any definitive answers, which can be somewhat frustrating. And he talked about all the things they tried to do. By the way, he's like, I know fans, they all thought they maybe had answers, but, like, we tried the punishment, we tried like incentives, we tried all this stuff, and it just obviously wasn't working. It was never really fixed. But they have a lot of new guys on the team, right? So that's what he thinks, is that he's fixed it just through roster construction. He's, acquired players that hopefully just aren't as turnover prone as some of the guys he had, on the team last year. So that's the hope there. again, I saw one practice. From what I saw, it didn't seem like it was a major problem. Dusty seemed to be on top of it. He was like officiating at times during the 5-on-5, and um, he was blowing the whistle and calling for a change of possession. There were a couple times I have it on video where I'm not even sure what he was calling. I was like, was there a moving screen there, or maybe a carrying violation? I don't know, but he was being pretty strict about stuff. I'm sure because of that. And then the outside shooting wasn't great last year either. I mean, they had some capable guys, but they had stretches where they had to try to win despite poor 3-point shooting numbers. Again, acknowledge that that's a question going into this season, because you got Namari Burnett is like a high volume college 3-point shooter who's also shot a good percentage. Everybody else, I mean, Will Cheddar, good percentage, but not the highest volume. Yaxel, good, decent percentage, but wasn't really asked to do that at UAB, and might not do it that much in Michigan either. And then some of these freshmen, again, haven't done it at the college level. Roddy Gale, about his struggles last year. So, LJ Kason, not great, not great 3-point shooting numbers as a freshman. So my take is that there's enough options there that, even if they don't all hit, like they'll be good enough. But that is something that, probably will be a continued focus. But you really won't know until they actually do it in games. So I think as far as what they can actually work on, it's more just that chemistry, lineup combination, seeing who works best with each other. But from a mid July standpoint, I think they're definitely further ahead of where they were last year, and obviously ended up with a pretty good season in Dusty's first year on the job.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. You guys got access like that, even if it was just for one day. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like if we had that type of access for the football program for a day and actually got to see them practice more than just stretch or warm up. That would be pretty cool. But I doubt that. I don't think that day will be coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't know why you can't just do it once in the summer and then, once mid-season too. But yeah, that's not typically how things are done. Football in general usually a little more secretive than basketball, but so be it. But yeah, we've got coverage of all things Michigan athletics here on MLive.com/Wolverines. We'll start to, obviously, every week we get closer to kickoff, start to break down some positional groups as we look forward to the season opener. Continue to monitor recruiting and any other news that will come up. You can check it all out on MLive.com/Wolverines. Thanks for listening.